Yo, check out this clip from the pre-patch podcast.
Moving on to another shit show that I shouldn't say another shit show because the last one wasn't a shit show, but to a shit show. I and myself and Sin played Redfall. I don't know if you guys have heard it. It's a little game that just came out from Xbox and Microsoft. I don't know if you guys have heard of it yet or not, but
no, I don't think so. No,
it's it's doing really well. No, it's really not. It's doing crazily bad. I don't know. To me, I personally don't feel
I'm
like
interested to see this footage because this is the first time I'm seeing something that hasn't been like
so
stock or meme footage
so there
of people like compiling all the bullshit.
So there is one section I think that I don't think it's in this footage, but there is one section that I do find one of the bugs, like when the characters are like moving but their feet aren't moving. That's the only thing that I've seen really that's been like bug for me at least. Now granted, I've seen those memes, like those meme compilations of like all the stupid shit that's going on with it. And
I mean, obviously that's real stuff that's happening.
Well, yeah, 100%. Like I'm not saying that it's not at all. Like it's a fucking, it pisses me off that it's happening to an Arkane game, because Arkane games have in the past been pretty polished on release. Like I don't think that
also do Grounded. Or
no,
was that only Bethesda?
No, Arkane did not do Grounded. I can't remember who did Grounded.
Let me hold on. It was Bethesda.
Was that Black Isle? No, that wasn't Black Isle. Was it?
Was it id?
It might have been id. I don't remember. You guys figure out. Moving into like the actual game, right?
Dishonored.
Yes, they did Dishonored.
That's what they did. Yeah.
I can't remember what other one they fucking did, but yeah, Dishonored,
Prey.
Dishonored 2, Prey. Yes. So they've done some really fucking good games, and like Dishonored, when it first released, was trumpeted as like a really good experience when it came to like actual gameplay.
It was super innovative too with the stealth mechanics. It like revolutionized stealth mechanics in video gaming.
Yeah,
for sure.
This one, not so much. Like,
no,
I'm gonna be straight up. Like the gameplay, not innovative. It's pretty bog standard for a shooter. About the only innovative thing that they got going for them is kind of like the art style, which even then it's not all that innovative. It's just kind of like a cell shaded.
I was gonna mention it. To me, the art style is like so off-putting. Everything looks so glossy, and I'm not a fan.
It's not bad. Like I think that might be a little bit of YouTube's compression, because it doesn't look bad when it comes to in-game. I will say that like I know what you're talking about, because like when I'm running around with my flashlight like I am, there's certain meshes and there's certain surfaces that like if it's white, it blinds you. It's like a fucking it's like a flashbang for 100%. But Redfall, it's a shooter, it's a first person shooter, looter, I guess that is what they're trying. The biggest thing, and both myself and Sin kind of agreed on this. A second, cover me for a second.
You saw that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That room.
Cover me for a second. My AC just came on.
The textures inside.
All good.
The textures inside that room, like
he shined it with a flashlight
out. It was kind of what he was saying with the meshing going bad. But as far as I've seen, it's first person shooter. It's an open world game. It's a looter shooter, similar to like Borderlands, Destiny, that kind of thing. And it's got like 3 or 4 different genres that it's trying to hit, and it doesn't nail any one of them in particular.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I was going to get at. So myself and Sin, and apparently I kind of understand this and agree with it. Like I think that it has a bit of an identity crisis. I don't think that like Sin said it the other day that like he thinks that it went through a pretty bad development cycle, like a development hell cycle. I have to kind of agree with him from playing it.
Seems to be the only way that games get to this certain point at launch, man.
It feels like they started as like a narratively driven first person shooter, kind of like Dishonored.
I mean, when we first saw it, it almost looked like it was trying to hit the mark of like Left 4 Dead 2, you know.
Well, that's what I was going to get to.
Around the Back 4 Blood.
That's what I was going to get to. Is like it feels like when they first released it, they were trying to push more towards a direction of like narratively driven first person shooter like Dishonored, and then they were like, well, wouldn't it be cool if we like did something like Back 4 Blood or Left 4 Dead? You know. And then they were like, well, if we're gonna do that, let's just add some looter shooter elements into it as well. You know, why the fuck not? Why the fuck not? Yeah. Like everybody loves a looter shooter. Come on, let's who fucking needs that, you know? But the problem with that is that like I feel like they stretched themselves out too thin and just kind of started going in different directions, and nothing really cohesively like brings the game together as like the final product, right? Like they got a lot of ingredients for the bread, but they fucked up on mixing it, and now it's just kind of a hodgepodge of everything, you know? And it doesn't do necessarily anything really well. if that makes any sense.
I'm watching this, and you've killed one enemy in the past 3 minutes of running around.
Yeah.
And then those enemies that you just rolled up on didn't realize that you were there until you were point blank shooting them. The
AI
is
I'm being
rough.
shot at.
Yeah. The AI is rough. That's a lot of people have been having issues with, like, the AI is rough. The story is forgettable in a lot of instances. I personally, from the story that I've seen, it's not terrible. It's not bad. It's not the best.
I've heard the story is the best aspect of the game.
It's not amazing. It does a really good job with it. Like the storyline is interesting, and that's about the only innovative thing that I've found inside the game is the storyline. It's an interesting take on like vampires and the entire reason why you're there. So essentially, this entire island that you're on is like, it was like set up as like a test subject island, right? And it's really confusing at the start because like they just drop you into it. But it's the problem that I have with it is that a lot of the actual storyline that you have is through, it's like Fallout 76, and I know it's shocking, right? A fucking Bethesda title has like shitty fucking storytelling. It's all of the story is done predominantly through these things that are called I forget the fucking name, but they're like locks. I think I shot at one earlier. It was like a glowing vial, right? And essentially what it is it's like a memory.
Morty's mind benders.
Yeah, it's like a memory that when you get it, it sucks up into your mind, and then you hear the main storyline narrator, which is this chick, and she kind of tells you about it. I don't know,
That's
man.
So weird and
it's
random.
Weird, dude. It really is.
It's
the rest of the story is done through like these weird like still image cutscenes, and I just want to really, I know I'm kind of all over the place. I want to kind of point out
that the game's kind of all over the place.
Yeah, very true. I want to point out that I literally watched a review the other day for this game, and the only reason why the person gave it a poor rating was because it didn't have cutscenes. He said that the game was terrible because it didn't have actual cutscenes. That was the only reason
that could be a factor. But
yeah,
but it does have cutscenes.
Scheme of things,
it does have cutscenes. It just doesn't have moving video cutscenes. They're all done through like this still image kind of like
storytelling.
Almost. It's like a
actually going back to Sly Cooper. Sly Cooper did that with like slides.
Kind of, yeah. It's like a painting. Right, like it's a moving painting,
messy painting.
Yeah, it's like a moving painting, but like it's still a beautiful fucking cutscene. Like the art is still really impressive. Like I've enjoyed every one of the cutscenes that I've watched, and I've thought that it was a really good like artistic like representation of what I'm watching. But yeah, it's.
Are you sure? Man. Wait. Can I ask you a question? Are you sure they're actual cutscenes and they're not just like dropping frames? Like,
no, yes, no, I'm sure. I mean, it's
I'm
possible.
I'm watching the grass here too.
It is very possible. It is very possible.
It might actually be long cutscenes, but just dropped frames, so you're only getting snippets of them.
So to kind of get into it again, I'm sorry, I'm kind of all over the place, but it's a lot to cover. There's a lot bad and not a lot good. Some of the good things.
In the distance
it's rough.
You guys are playing on PC, correct?
I am playing on PC. I'm playing on at 1080. I am playing at 140 FPS, I believe, and it still looks rough. Now, one thing, and again, I will say this: the pixelation is not the game. That's YouTube's shitty encoding. So don't give it a really harsh rating because of the pixelation. I don't know what the fuck happened. It doesn't look this bad in game. It does look bad, but it doesn't look this bad in game. I I lost my train of thought. So yeah, essentially it's a looter shooter. It has instances of storyline in it. I don't really feel like the storyline is going to be a very long storyline from what from what I understand and from what I've been reading. There's not a lot to it. The characters, there's 4 characters. Each of them have individual like skill sets and individual abilities. I'm personally playing
Is that
Jacob right now.
trampoline thing?
Yeah. Yep,
Yeah,
that was one
so.
of the she's like a psychic. I can't remember her name. I think it's like
it looks
Leslie.
so much cooler in the trailer.
It does. Yeah.
And
I think her name is
like
I think her name is Leslie. Her ability is that she has like this weird like umbrella like psychic umbrella
Mary
that like
Poppins.
yeah, that like blocks things, but then again it doesn't. Like my friend that was playing it was like, yeah, I mean I'm blocking stuff. I have my umbrella up, but I'm still getting hit. I don't really know why. And then her thing is like her ultimate is like she summons her vampire ex-boyfriend.
Interesting.
That's her ultimate. So, you know, it is what it is. I played Jacob. Jacob I find is a little bit more impressive. He has like this crow or this raven. It's like a ghost raven or like a spirit raven. And you send that raven forward, and as it flies through the air, it like highlights enemies around it and such. His secondary ability is like a stealth ability, and then his ultimate is like he summons this like ghost sniper that you can just shoot people without having to worry about ammunition for a short amount of time. It does a shit ton of damage. So that's his storyline is he's kind of like this PMC that came to the island and then was trying to get off of it because reasons, I guess. Didn't really get that far. The other guys, there's 2 more characters. One of them's like a writer. I don't know what the fuck his abilities are because I didn't really want to play a writer in a vampire killing game. And the other one's like like an inventor, and she has like this robot that follows her around and it like shakes its ass and taunts people. I don't know. It's weird. I don't get it. Whatever.
Okay. She just shakes her ass and distracts
yeah,
all the vampires.
Yeah, the robot shakes its ass and then distracts all the vampires and all the shit, and
yeah.
they come after it. I can see why, you know. It is what it is, but it's an interesting game.
Full moon and they're like, oh my god.
I don't get what they were going for. I do agree with a lot of people in stating that I don't think that it's a great game. I don't think it's a terrible game. I will say that. A lot of people have been lambasting it and saying that it's just it's the worst game to come out in 2023 so far, or you know, it's the worst
based on review scores.
The worst game to come out.
As far as AAA games go, it is that mark so far.
I don't know about that. I personally feel like EA's Star Wars Survivor was a worse off situation. Granted, I mean, the storyline maybe not.
I'll give you that.
Like the actual like gameplay and the storyline maybe not, but like the biggest thing with this is like a lot of people have said that it's unplayable, and it's not. It is very playable. It's an enjoyable. I enjoyed the time that I played with it. I didn't really find any situations where it was like game breaking bugs. I don't think I ran into really any bugs so far, other than like when I first loaded it, I had some situation where like it kept resizing the game to like 4K on a 1080p screen, and it wouldn't let my mouse go past halfway on the screen.
Weird.
So, it's just weird shit like that. Like very, very strange things like that would pop up. But Sin saying that the game direction feels like it was changed multiple times. I agree with that. This is Sin's kind of personal things. He says also the world is pretty but also empty. I don't know if I agree with that. The world itself, I feel like no, I'll agree with that. Yeah, I will agree with that because like when you're moving between like mission points, there's not a lot going on. Like there's really like it's empty streets.
It's a lot of empty streets.
It's a lot of emptiness.
Ton of pop into.
Yeah. So I'll agree with that. I will definitely agree with that. I don't think that there was anything else that Sin really had. You guys will have to cover whatever Sin threw in the Discord, please.
He's saying that it's not as bad as reviewers are saying.
Yeah.
But also not worth the $70.
No, 100%. Okay. We talked about this a little bit like when we were kind of discussing the show, right? One of the reviews was like the reason why he gave it a bad review, or not the reason, but like one of the reasons that he gave it a bad review was he was like, well, if you look at the Steam player base, there's only like 4,000 people playing the game. Yeah, it's on fucking Game Pass. Why would you purchase it? Like there's
also he's looking only at the Steam
he's only
charts,
looking at the Steam charts, but it's one of those
and whatnot.
It's just one of those things where I'm like, yeah, it's on Game Pass. Like the reason Game Pass is such a great deal is because you have games like this that release. You can go and pay $10. You get a huge library of games. You can try the game out, and if you don't like it, you're only out $10. And even then, go play another game
and let you murder it.
That vampire did just stand there and let me murder it. The AI is rough, like 100%. The AI is rough.
What I am going to say is, from everything I've watched of you playing it here, it's kind of confirmed what I've heard echoed from a few different reviewers and other people that I've seen playing it. It feels like it's from the 360 PS3 era. Like it honestly, it looks very similar to Borderlands 1.
I can see it.
Both the AI, how the world is built up. Like it's got that Borderlands 1 vibe to it, which Borderlands 1 was a great game back.
It was
in the day.
Yeah.
But
no, I can definitely agree with that. It definitely doesn't feel like a current gen.
Especially not the first game that Xbox is putting out that is solely on the next generation. Like this isn't on the previous generation system.
Is it not? I thought it was.
I thought this was the first game that they put out that's exclusively new gen. Let me
that. My bad. Yeah, well, you guys gonna have to check it out because otherwise.
Redfall is only available on X and Series S.
Interesting.
Series X and Series S and Xbox Cloud. So this is the first exclusively next-gen game that they put out.
Not a great start.
That's the biggest concern that I have with it. Is this is not a good showcase of next generation tech from Xbox as far as their first party titles go.
Because I was gonna say the same thing. Is like this looks like an old, like dated game, and this brought me back to the times that we talked about that one game that we played, Shatterline, where Sid was like, was pounding it in. That game looked like an old like PlayStation game. I'm like.
Yeah,
this to me gives me that feeling more than that game did.
I can agree with that. That like I think rightfully so. It's
especially, and I know we've talked about the frame rate thing not being that big of an issue, the 38 frames per second on console, but the fact that they cut the corners on that with release, like that was one of the corner cutting points. I think more telling than it being 30 frames per second in general. Like, yes, playing a game in 30 frames per second, if it's a stable 30 frames per second, not that big of a fucking deal in all honesty. But the fact that they cut the corners there.
Speaking of bugs, I don't know if you noticed that I was looking down to the ground and I was like, what the fuck is this thing? That's my partner's clip or magazine. That's for some reason. It just, when you reload, your magazine just floats in the air. I don't know why.
Nice.
I don't
That's
know
like old Rainbow Six Siege.
Yeah.
I don't know though. To me, the frames thing is bigger to me. I don't know if it's. I think it's just a personal thing. I wish you would have spoke
up about that in the podcast chat when I was getting absolutely eviscerated.
So my biggest thing right there. So my biggest thing right there. Okay, my biggest thing right there is that the only I would argue that the only reason why the frames thing is a big issue for you is because you are, as a PC player, are used to having above 60 frames a second.
And anything below 60 frames now gives me motion
sickness. Yeah, 100%. I completely agree with that.
It's more of a personal thing now, but now that's why it's a bigger thing to me.
But one thing that I will point out is, and that I think I posted in the podcast chat a week or two ago, was like, the one thing you got to remember, especially for consoles, which again, this game on PC is 60 plus. You can run it without. It's not locked to 30. It's just on consoles. One thing that I had pointed out the other day was like, somebody brought it up that like, if you really look at it, 60 frames a second on a console has only been the standard for about 2 years.
Right.
Three, I think,
Yeah.
since 2018.
I would at least argue this
So
generation, which
5.
is
I'm sorry.
2018.
Yeah, generation. I'm sorry,
It's
5 years.
2023.
My bad. The biggest thing that he brought up in that thing is like, yes, it's a big issue for current generation games, right? But like the biggest thing is like a lot of people aren't even out of the old generation. Like they're still trying to get into the new generation in some instances
Yeah.
because of a lack of what's the word I'm looking for?
The economy, it makes it
Yeah.
hard to warrant, especially with
So
how few games
I
both of the major consoles have actually put out.
yeah.
Like Xbox has put out 4 exclusive games that you can't get anywhere else for its system. Sony's put out like maybe 7. Like there's not a huge catalog for either system
Yeah.
in the 5-year time that these systems have been out.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's my only thing. I will step back and say that I kind of do agree with you that yes, and I'm starting to look at it as like, well, if I had purchased this or if I was playing this on the console, would I be pissed that it was locked to 60 or to 30?
Especially with it being on your brand new shiny Xbox Series X or S. If this was made with the prior generation in mind, I could give it some slack in that regard. And then they patch it in later.
The only thing that I have to say about that is again, would I personally like on this brand new Xbox 360 or Xbox whatever, Xbox One or whatever they're at fucking right now? Obviously, you can tell I don't play on fucking consoles.
Series X.
Would I even know? Right? Like me being a PC player, yes. When I have a game that's not at 60 frames a second, right. I'm like know. Scruffy. I can see it, and it makes me sick. Yeah. It makes me motion sick. 100%. I will agree with that. But if I have never played anything, like if this was my first generation on a new console, that 60 FPS is the go-to and like the baseline, right? Would I even fucking notice? I doubt it.
I don't know, man. I think you're selling console gamers a little bit short. Every game that's come out, at least with this generation, has for the most part had a performance and a quality mode, and I don't know anybody unless they're playing on a 4K TV that really takes full advantage of the quality mode. They would prefer the performance 60 mode over the quality 30.
I don't know.
That's just from my experience talking to a few, like me, my cousin, and a few other people that I know play exclusively on consoles for the most part these days. So
yeah, I don't know.
It's my taste, but I also play on PC, so the frame rate difference. It's harder to.
That's what I'm trying to say. That's what I'm trying to say though. Is like if you've never played on PC, if your only experience has been a console that's stuck at 30 FPS, would it be that big of a fucking deal? You know,
on PC,
I had to make the mental gymnastics for that, but I see where you're pointing.
For the longest time on PC, you know, it's like jumping from a 60 hertz monitor to a 144.
100%. You notice like the upgrade. 100%.
Back. When you go back, you're like, this ain't right. You know, something's off. You can feel it. You know.
So that was my only point. Was like
won't make a difference.
I do agree with you that like being stuck at 30, they should have like delayed it. It should have been delayed to a point that they could release it at 60, because honestly, I agree with you. It's unacceptable as a person that has played games at 60 frames a second for the past.
Well, I think the biggest thing is like it's the first game that is on the new gen consoles. I think that's the biggest thing. You know, is like if this is the first game on the new gen consoles that is exclusively on the new gen consoles, it should be a standard 60 FPS game. It shouldn't be locked at 30.
But on the other hand, I've heard a lot of people as well saying that like, oh, they should have just delayed it. I don't think that this game would have even delayed released in a better state.
And Phil Spencer agrees with that sentiment too, which we'll get into that here later.
We'll get into that.
One last thing I want to bring up with this in the frames per second argument is, holy shit, that vampire was just chilling there.
Yeah. The thing with this, like,
that completely took me out of my thought process. He was just chilling there.
No, it took me out of my thought process too, 100%, because that fucking vampire wasn't there when we came into that room originally.
No, yeah, that's funny.
Back to the Xboxes. The reason that I've heard from people that have like looked into it or like talked to Xbox like developers, the issues that people are like they're having is the Series S specifically. It is such a underpowered console
Makes sense,
compared to what the Series X is. that
the Series S is their
same
baseline,
trouble.
Right?
Yeah, the Series S is their
It's
based
like
on the Series
their
X.
bare bones model.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the diskless drive, all digital version. But it's underpowered to the point where they basically have conned themselves almost into a prior generation issue where
Yeah.
it's not quite as bad as like the Xbox One as far as tech goes, but it's still a big enough jump between the two that they're having to develop for that system and then port it up. Like it has to at least run on that.
Makes sense. Yeah. I think that I think the small, or like the Xbox Series S or whatever it is, the baseline, I really think they should just get rid of it. I mean I understand why they have it. It's for like people that aren't able to afford like a full.
I mean, even Sony's thinking about getting rid of their disc.
It just makes
Yeah.
no sense. Like it's like, okay, I understand you can't, you know, if you can't get the money together for it, it's a way of getting people into the door of console gaming, right? But the amount of issues that you're having with developing for those less, I shouldn't say less like superior. I should say like, no, I'm going to say less superior. Well, 100%. Like it is. It's not as superior as the baseline. We have seen that. The amount of headache that they have with actually developing for it, like you could just get rid of it. Just, okay, we don't offer it anymore. I'm sorry. Like it just makes no sense
but
to me.
Even then you still have to get the games to support it because it's already been thrown out there. You can't just like stop, like cut support for it.
Right.
For true.
So
yeah, like that, I think that in the next, you know, the next console
when the PS Pros and the Xbox Series S Super come out, I think they will exclusively do like.
You think that's going to happen though?
Those.
Like I mean, obviously the PlayStation.
Sony's already like not
obviously
announced, but there's been leaks for.
Obviously the PlayStation one. I don't know. With how Microsoft has been going recently, I'm not entirely sure that they're going to necessarily continue to fight in the console market. We're going to talk about that here in a minute as well. But it really seems like they don't care. They're just like, hey, we're going to make it so you can play our games on a fucking TV. Have fun.
Yeah.
Which, now that I say that, I'm curious how this runs on a Samsung TV.
It's a weird place, man, because putting like this game is obviously unfinished. It's obviously not where Xbox wants it. It's not where Arkane wants it. It's not where Bethesda would want it. Given Arkane's track record,
I think Bethesda's completely okay with it. I think Arkane's not. I think Bethesda's like, this is a great game, man. Care. Oh, what the fuck are you talking about? This works better than fucking Fallout 76. This is amazing.
But given Prey, Deathloop, and Dishonored, this feels like a disservice.
It's rough.
Arkane.
Yeah, it's not a good look.
Yeah.
So,
and we can get into Phil Spencer's take on it too, because that's kind of a nice segue.
So we'll move into that. So this is obviously, again, like I said, Redfall. It's on Xbox and PC only, I believe. It's not on PlayStation. I'm pretty sure this was an Xbox only, a Microsoft only. $70 if you want to purchase it. I don't see why you would. Go and purchase the Xbox Game Pass and try it out there. Please don't buy this game until they fix it. Like,
if they fix it, I hope they do fix it. I hope honestly, they don't abandon it.
Honestly, I am pretty confident in them fixing it. I don't know if it'll be like, if it'll ever be up to everybody's standards as to what they were expecting out of it. But I think that we're running into the same issue of like Cyberpunk, where like everybody's expectations for the game got way too hyped for it, and it didn't. It'll never meet it.
Sin is thinking that it'll get a grounded comeback.
I don't know about that, man. The bare bones of the game seem like they're too tainted to get that level.
Did Grounded ever go away? I'm confused. I thought Grounded was pretty on point. Like I'm pretty sure people love Grounded.
Speaking of like their launch into like the development now. Like I thought it had a rough launch.
I didn't know it had a rough launch. I didn't think it did.
No,
I think the skeleton bones are not there, in my opinion.
Yeah,
but we'll see.
I'm thinking I'm gonna pass up on this one, honestly, and I don't think I'll be missing much, to be honest.
I don't think you will.
I don't know.
I hope you enjoyed this small selection from the Pre-Patch podcast. And if you want to catch us live, we do this every Thursday night at 10:30 p.m. Eastern, both on YouTube and Twitch. So don't forget to like and subscribe. We are also available to listen to at anchor.fm/prepatch podcast or wherever podcasts are listened to. Much love.